How's it going, friends? Reckless Yuki here. Hope you guys are doing fantastic. And in this video, I'd like to do a product review of the Creative SoundBlasterX G5. And this is a pretty interesting device. When it first released, I was very excited about this because I'm basically looking for an Astro Killer. Something to overtake this as the go-to product when you're trying to listen to games in a very high quality. If you're trying to soundboard to the best of your abilities, something to just basically overtake Astro. And in this video, we're going to go over, does this do it or not? Now, before I get into anything, I like to put a disclaimer out there that I did not pay for this unit. The fine folks over at Creative were kind enough to send this product out to me for review on my channel. So here is my review. And if anyone's watching from Creative, I do apologize for the delay, but I wanted to make sure that I did a thorough review of this. I got a thorough feel of this because I received this product about a month after it was released, and because of that, I decided to look on Amazon to see what people were saying of the people who already purchased and had a chance to look at it. And one of the things that was very concerning for me is that people were saying that this broke after a month or within a few weeks of using it. And so I wanted to make sure that if I review this product, I review it thoroughly and that I test it for a good couple months to ensure that if anyone out there purchases this, they won't run into any issues like that. So I've been testing it for the past couple months to ensure that the device will not break, that it doesn't really degrade in performance. There's nothing negative about the device. And so far, there really isn't anything, but I don't quite think it's an Astro Killer. Anyways, before I get into my thoughts and opinions of it, we'll go over the specifics of the device as far as like the inputs, outputs, and that, and then the program in which you use to control it. And then we'll get into my actual thoughts. So stay tuned. Now, taking a close look at the SoundBlasterX G5, we'll notice that this shares an almost identical housing to that of the previous product, which was the SoundBlaster E5, which could be seen here. And if you're curious about this specific product, be sure to check out the description of the video. I have a link to the video review there if you're so interested. Now focusing back to the G5, we'll notice that there are 3 indentions at the top here. And because this shares an almost identical housing to that of the previous product, these were actually ports for the built-in microphone. But since the G5 doesn't have a built-in microphone, these are useless indentions that are just there to confuse you if you're not aware of the previous product specifications. Now going down to the bottom, we'll notice that there's a nice rubber padding here to basically give you non-sliding performance, to basically have it sit stationary on your desk as you game. On the back here, we have some inputs and outputs for connectivity of your devices in which you want to encode digital to analog signals for better audio performance. We have the line optical in. This is what we'd use if you are using this for, let's say, an Xbox One, since the Xbox One can't take advantage of the USB devices. The line optical out, this is what you'd use if you want to hook it up to a pair of speakers. And the device or USB device, this is a type A USB connection. We will use this if you want to hook up your iPhone or Android device or whatever you have that plays music. Instead of having your phone do the digital to analog conversion, you could have this device do the digital to analog conversion, which will offer a superior audio quality. This does actually provide a better sound than what you would get from an iPhone. Now, the difference between this and let's say the line input could also be used for the audio jack of your iPhone. If you use this with the analog signal coming from your iPhone, the iPhone is basically doing the digital to analog converting, and then this is just playing it through. This device isn't actually doing anything to convert that signal. Whereas if you use this with your iPhone, this device then becomes the device that will convert that digital to analog, and then you'll get a better, superior sound. Now, the USB connection here, this is what you'd use if you want to hook it up to the PC or your PlayStation 4. This is what I use for the PlayStation 4, since the PlayStation 4 can actually accept USB hardware devices. Now, this connection is a micro USB connector, and basically you just plug it in like this. And as we plug it in, we'll notice on the top here, it lights up to give you a nice glow, to give you that gamer-esque feel. Now, as we kind of look around, we'll see that some things have started to light up. And on the side here, what this basically is we have a scout mode, SBX, and a gain with a low to high side. Now the scout mode, basically you turn this on and it kind of gives you some better performance when you're trying to play first person shooter games. It will allow you to hear footsteps better. It will kind of focus on the things that you really want to listen to if you're trying to sound horror in a game, which is pretty nice. Or if you set up a specific profile, you will use the SBX button, and on the side here, 1, 2, and 3, these will kind of indicate what profile you're on. You can store up to 3 profiles on this device, so you can flip between them on the go. So as you press the button, it indicates different levels in which you are using. Now the low to high gain, basically this device is able to support a headphone that can go all the way down from 2.2 ohms all the way up to 600 ohms. So if you're using something from, I believe, 300 to 600 ohms, or no, 150 to 600 ohms, you flip it to the high side. And if you're using something that only will accept 2 or 32 ohms to 150, you make sure it's on the low side. Now, if your headphones fall below 150 ohms, you want to make sure you use the low side. Don't flip it to the high because you could damage the headphones if you turn the volume up too high. So be aware of that. And on this side, there is absolutely nothing. There is nothing special about this, just some information here that no one will ever read. And so that is the close look at the sound. Oh, not to mention the top here. So I almost forgot this part. So right here we have connections for your headphones and your speaker or your microphone. On the E5, this was a dual headphone output, but since this is a gamer product, we have a headphone output and a speaker input or microphone input for you to communicate while you game. And one cool thing about this knob here is it's a volume knob. If you press it, it will mute, and then if you unpress it, it will gain volume again. And as you increase the volume, as you can see, the LED here around the edge will light up, and if you lower it, it will actually dim. And this is basically the built-in, allowing you to know how loud the device is without actually having to hear it. So if you see that it's bright red before you put on your headphones, you might want to turn it down a bit before you do, so you don't blow out your ears. So that is something nice that they upgraded for this specific device over the E5. So that's the closer look at this. Now let's move on to the software. As we first open up the software, this is the page that we'll be greeted with. It'll show us what device is currently hooked up, which is only currently the G5. And it'll show you a picture of the device to ensure that you are properly taking control of the device in which you are trying to take control of. Over here, we have the volume indication, which you can't really do anything with this besides mute it. But if you move the dial, it will show real time as far as what the volume level is on the screen here. And if you click this, which is a demo, basically you'll be brought up with this screen, and it'll show you basically what you will be left and right as far as your headphones. And then you move this helicopter icon around to kind of give you a sense of how well the audio device is creating a surround sound experience for you to help you pinpoint exactly where objects and things are. I think this is pretty cool. Now going on to the profile where you set up the custom profiles of the device. Currently, I just have Call of Duty and FPS competitive as well as default. Now there isn't really anything to change with these. At least once you click on something, you don't have the ability to change anything here in this window. And if you just click on here, you could kind of change things if you want to export it, import it, do things like that. It's something that is pretty nifty. And I thought this was pretty neat because they have action adventure, some other things, but then they have specific things like Call of Duty series, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, Dota 2 driving simulation, as well as Metal Gear 5, which who needs an audio profile for this game, but it's there for the gamers. So I thought it was kind of cool that they have things like this. So really a lot of options for you to choose to kind of manipulate the perfect profile in which you want to play the game at so that you could hear the things that you want to hear. Now the acoustic engine here is you can basically tweak things to give you the ideal thing that you really want, how much surround you want, how much crystallizer you want, which is basically makes things more livelier. Bass, smart volume. Smart volume is really cool. I like this because let's say you are listening to a movie or you have a movie on Netflix that I'm sure a lot of you experienced where the volumes would be really low at one point, then really high at another, and you're always kind of battling with the controller as far as increasing or decreasing the audio. This device will basically normalize it, act as a compressor so that you won't have that issue ever again. It kind of flattens out the audio frequencies so that It's not going to be really loud at one point and really quiet at another, something that I really like. And then Dialogue Plus, this is just there to enhance the vocals in whatever you're listening. And then here, let's say you want to preview your settings in a movie, in a music performance, or an FPS game. That's what these are for. You basically play these just to kind of hear if your settings are what you actually want. And then as we go to the equalizer, this is something that is really cool, where you can really minutely change exactly what you want, what frequency ranges you really want to hear, what frequency ranges you don't want to hear, basically tweak it to your heart's desire. Something really cool that I don't really get into that much because I don't really have a need. But if you feel that you need to tweak the perfect sound hearing profile for you, this is where you go, and this is one cool thing about the device. Scout mode. Basically turn this on if you don't really want to fiddle with things yourself, and it'll basically give you a generic profile in which you could sound horror, and they try to focus on the things that any sound horror would really want to focus on. So it's a pretty neat mode. I don't really use this, but it's something there for you if you're curious. Now, Voice FX, this is for you to input your mic to kind of control how the receiver will hear your voice. This is something, again, that I don't really use. But if you are into doing things like, you know, making you sound like an alien infiltrator, deep voice if you're a little kid and you want to be taken seriously online, emo, elf, like just a lot of silly things for you to mess with when you're trying to play games. If you're really bored of the game and you just want to mess with people, this is something for you. And then advanced settings. So advanced settings is pretty cool. You could basically change how you want your headphones configuration to be, if you want a 7.1 virtual, 5.1, or just a straight up stereo. And then you have direct mode, which will basically take the actual audio source and not really mess around with it. It'll just kind of give you the raw audio. If you want the optical output, which I never really use, and then headphone surround for line optical out. If you're using that optical out port for a pair of headphones, you could have this selected, which is something that I don't really understand why you would need, but it's there. Then as you change the settings, like let's see, go here, you see that you're missing 2 speakers. You could kind of test it to see if that is satisfactory for your needs. And then we have the mixer here, which is something that I really like over the Mixamp, where you can actually really finely tweak what you want instead of just a big dial that kind of works. These will give you actual percentages of what you really want to come in, what you want to come out. I really like the setup that Creative did, and it's something that, I mean, I enjoy using with the Creative X7. All right, so now welcome to the last section of the video where I'm going to put my raw thoughts and opinions of this device and basically tell you if I think it's worth the MSRP of $150, which now you could get it for a little bit cheaper on Amazon. And it really depends on who you are. Now, this device is just, you know, it blew me away with how small it is and what it can do. It's a lot of punch in such a little package. And this device is able to decode up to 196 kilohertz at 24 bits, which is amazing. That's just fantastic. That's just outstanding. And it's able to drive headphones that have an impedance of up to 600 ohms. So any headphones you have, if you have something that really requires a lot of power, then this device can push it, which I think is pretty cool. And the fact that it's able to give you all those features to kind of tweak your audio exactly how you want is also a stunning factor of this. But unfortunately, I have to say that this doesn't beat the Astro Mixamp. And like I said, it really depends on who you are and if it's worth it. So if you're a PC gamer who is looking at upgrading your audio because you're an audiophile or audio enthusiast, and you have a motherboard with crappy onboard audio, or you have a laptop, which all laptop audio basically sucks, then this could be the device for you to basically bring your audio experience up to the next level without really breaking the bank too bad. I mean, I just really love what Creative done with this device. Now, if you're a console player though, I would say that this isn't necessarily an Astro Killer. The Astro Mixamp, I think, is a better buy if you're on the consoles, and that's mainly due to the fact that this can't decode this cannot decode Dolby Digital. Man, I just messed up that whole thing up. But anyways, this can't decode Dolby Digital. So if you use this on the PlayStation 4, which I have for many hours just trying to make sure that I know what I'm talking about, it won't give you a true 360 surround sound. Now, my X7 from Creative is able to decode that, and it's a night and day difference between this and that, just because that device is able to decode Dolby Digital. And this does offer better audio cues than this device when it comes to the PlayStation 4. But if it's on the PC, This has no problem decoding the surround sound experience. This will give you perfect surround sound experience and all the features that this is able to pack. So, I mean, this is perfect for the PC users, just not the console users out there. And that's kind of a bummer because when I first heard about this and was first looking up the specs, I was really excited to use this, to get this, to basically say that finally there's a product out there that's able to beat Astro, that there is a new king on the block. But this unfortunately isn't that, because once again, it's not able to decode Dolby Digital. But one impressive thing about this is that 24-bit up to 196 kilohertz. And if you're thinking to yourself that you want to sacrifice Dolby Digital surround for a higher decoding processing ability, it's not necessarily needed. And this device here, I think, is only able to go up to 16-bit up to 48 kilohertz. And that doesn't really seem like a whole lot, especially when you're looking at the two devices. This sounds like it was a better option than this. But the truth is, behind those numbers is that 48 hertz at 16-bit is Blu-ray quality. And most games that are produced aren't going to exceed Blu-ray quality. So having a device that can exceed that quality and give you that performance doesn't mean anything if the source of the audio doesn't require a device like this. So most games that you're going to find, basically all the games you're going to find on the consoles, is never going to exceed that. And I'm not aware of any game on the PC that does require a device like this. But it's nice to have if you're an audio enthusiast and you have a lot of high-res audio files that you like listening to, then that's where this would play in. So, I mean, it's really nice that this is able to do so much, but when compared to the Astro, it kind of falls short just for the console players out there. But for the PC, this is by far a way better option. Like, never use an Astro on the PC. Get something like this. Get the Sound Blaster for the PC. And if anyone from Creative is watching this video, I would say that once you release a product that's able to decode Dolby Digital that has all the functions of this, I think you would have a true winner, and basically everyone who's intelligent will shift over to your product. So that is the next thing that I think you guys should really work on, is paying the fees to be able to decode Dolby Digital, just so that you have a wider market that you could indulge in, especially for the console guys out there, because they really want that Dolby Digital. So that's my opinions on the product. So for the PC, definitely worth the buy if you're looking at something like this. If you're on the consoles only, then probably stick with Astros. But if you're on both, though, I would highly recommend the Creative X7, because that's what I use and it's able to do everything. Absolutely love that device, but it's really expensive. But if you're curious about my review of the X7, definitely I'll have that linked in the description as well if you made it this far in the video. But anyways, that's it for the review. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys again in the next one, all right? Bye-bye.